Like, what have you done? Like, what? Please tell me, what have you done? Because at this point, I just had my baby. I just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was at my absolute all-time heaviest. And I didn't know what she'd done, but whatever she'd done, I was going to do it. I didn't care at that point what it was.
Welcome back to The Conversation, where we're breaking barriers, building confidence and changing lives with the Let's Chat Girls podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. Oh, we're back for another episode, Gem, and we have a special guest with us today, Miss Stacey. How are you, lovely?
Hello, I'm okay. You?
Yeah, we are so happy to have you on the podcast. We love having people to chat to and bring them into the little girls club of conversation. And you have had such an incredible journey on your own weight loss journey and subsequently in maintenance and helping your own clients. And Jem was your consultant as well.
She was my little dream lady.
You were amazing. So she was a good, very, very good client.
I love them. They just crack on and get it done.
That's exactly it.
So, Stacey, for people who maybe haven't heard your story, who don't know much about you, do you want to give everyone listening just a bit of a background on who you are and what kind of led you to looking into doing the plan?
Yeah, so it was actually you, Rach, to be fair. You were the one.
Just
you
inspiring
were
hundreds of people. Joking.
It literally was. So I am Stacey, and I lost 10 stone on plan. I have been overweight my whole adult life, adult, teenage life, childhood life. You know, I've never not known to be overweight. And a local slimming club, let's say, was my go-to. It was all I ever kind of knew. I don't know why that was so ingrained into my mind that was the only way that you can lose weight. But that's what I tried year after year after year after year. Lost count of how many different kind of clubs I joined up to, because it was like fail at one club, rejoin another club, so you've not got to go there with your head held in shame of rejoining. It was always like, I reckon I've probably got about 25 new starter books in my cupboard somewhere. I
was going to say, you end up with like a library, don't you?
Yeah,
all the different editions.
And you know, the kind of the crux of that, it is the shame of I couldn't do it, I couldn't succeed. I started off so well, fallen off the wagon, got to go back on it. And it was, I think I never addressed the fact of why I wasn't succeeding. I just wanted to pretend that I'd never started and it was a brand new chapter. You know, I was going again for the first time and I'd never done it. I never admitted that I'd been before. It was always a constant, just a lie, put the lid on it and restart again. So eventually, after God knows how many years, I think something just went, well, this obviously isn't working. Let's explore a new avenue. And I had seen success from somebody in person, and it was over lockdown. So I hadn't seen her throughout lockdown. And the next time I saw her, obviously, she was like a completely different person. She'd lost like 6 stone. And I was just like, what have you done? Like, what? Please tell me, what have you done? Because at this point, I just had my baby. I just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was at my absolute all-time heaviest. And I didn't know what she'd done, but whatever she'd done, I was going to do it. I didn't care at that point what it was.
I'll have some of that, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when she said to me, the one-to-one diet. So naturally, just took to Instagram to try and find some people that had obviously done the one-to-one, this hashtag one-to-one. And you was everywhere, Rach. It was your page, your transformation. She was on it. And which then ultimately obviously led me to Gemma's page, because, you know, you wasn't a consultant at the time. You was just on your journey. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, if this lady can help you, then this lady can hopefully help me. Like I say, I'd seen in person the success of this other person that I'd seen. And I thought, I'm just going to give it a go. And I had no experience in meal replacement plans before whatsoever. It was completely new to me. And actually, I think something in my head had ticked to say, this is your genuine first experience on a weight loss. Whereas obviously when I kept going back to the slimming clubs, it was almost, I was starting off on a lie, starting off on a secret, you know, whereas this felt like, right, you've got something here now. That this is probably, if I'm honest, this is my last chance before I go and do something drastic like flying abroad and get half my stomach cut away, because I was very much on that edge of that desperation of, oh, do I need to eat? But like I say, I had just had my baby, and like naturally that mum guilt creeps in of going, well, if you're flying abroad, what if you never come back? You know, I know it sounds morbid, but it is true. So I was like, I made it in my head, non-negotiable. That was it. And I hear like all the successful people on this plan, as I would say, the prime terminology that we use is it's non-negotiable, and I felt excited for once in a very, very long time that there was huge potential here. I really did believe that this could work for me, but I have to give it a go. Like, as much as Gemma was amazing, she couldn't do it for me. As much as me sitting there like fangirling your results page, Rach, like, that weren't going to do it for me. It had to be me. And yes, I could, like, you know, keep looking at your results every day and keep telling myself, but I ultimately know that I have to commit 100% fully to this for this to work. And that is the attitude that I went in with. And like Jem says, you know, I just got on with it. I had to get on with it, because no matter how much if I expected Gemma to do it, if I stood there and moaned at her, that wasn't going to change. It wasn't going to get me the results that I wanted. It was only coming from me. And that was that little, right, you're just doing it. Shutting out all the outside noise, all the negative opinions when I was telling people, you know, oh, I'm not going to come out this weekend because, you know, I've got myself to put forward for this short-term period, but, you know, and trying to shut people's opinions down were probably the hardest part. It was actually harder trying to change people's mindset and stop them giving me that negative opinion than it actually was sticking on plan. It's crazy, because all of us will know, once you're in the zone of plan, you're in the zone of plan, and like, you feel amazing, like nothing is stopping you, but all you're getting is this outside like voices,
like,
and it's like, why are you trying to tear me down? I'm in my happy little bubble, just leave me alone. And the quicker that I started to realize that actually those opinions are irrelevant, then the easier it made it. And you know, soon, it wasn't long until those negative people were wanting a bit of what I was doing anyway when they were seeing the results. So
I remember saying that to you. I was like, it won't be long,
yeah.
Stace. They'll want to do it too, which it happens to so many people, doesn't it? They all come in at the beginning because they can't believe, but it is that belief, and it's that not knowing what that plan is and not really understanding it. So you kind of, like, people like you that were willing to do it fully and tell everyone about it. It's like, that's how you spread awareness. You know, a lot of people still don't know what the plan is about and don't fully get the buzz and, like, you know, the results that you can get. So you were proof, and you showed everybody.
It's infectious. That buzz is infectious. And I think once people
feel really good, and I think you touched on it perfectly, Stacey, and so many people I know will relate to this, is how much shame you carry when you're going back to those groups and you're signing back up and you're sitting through those talks and you're like, I could probably write this book myself now with my eyes shut. I've heard this talk so many times. But there is this huge level of shame we carry, because it's like our mind is trying to tell us, this is a really easy fix. This is just about following this way of eating, and we don't look at actually all the reasons why we're eating in the way we are, or we're emotionally eating, or why we're finding it difficult. And a lot of the times, I think the comments that you're describing from around your kind of circle of people when you start plan, they kind of reinforce the shame and and everything you felt. And so I think that's why it's so important to block it out. And I was like you, I very much learned how to say no without explanation. Because it was like, if I keep listening to all of this noise, I'm going to be in a church hall in 40 years' time selling raffle tickets.
Yeah.
So, Stace, when you started the plan, just a little rundown for people, because I know people will ask, what step did you do? And did you do that step for the whole of your weight loss, or did you change it up? Like, what was your kind of roadmap with the plan?
Okay. So I'm actually glad you've asked this question, because it's a funny thing. Now I'm on the flip side of it. Obviously, now I support my clients with this. The step is so important. Okay, so I started on step 1B, and the reason being, so 1B, my BMI was too high to do 1A. I'm too tall to do 1A anyway. So 1B was the lowest step that I could do. So that's the 4 products a day. I remember Gemma saying to me, and I so vividly remember this comment of Gemma on our consultation, saying, you can do step 1B for 12 weeks. And literally that girl in my head went, you want me to not eat for 3 months?
I think you said that.
Like, I think I actually said it out loud. I don't think I even said it in my head. And I think if I didn't say it out loud, my face must have said it, because I love food. Like, food, I don't just eat like in secret, or, I'm not just someone that likes chocolate. I like all food, and I'm always
Me too.
Like anytime we're ever together, especially like whether it's with like the team at retreats or in centres or meeting up, you best believe we're all there with the menus. Like, what are we having?
There's not many fussy people.
Are we sharing? Are we going to get little picky bits of everything? We're going to have a little taste of everything? Because, and there is this misconception, I think, that if you struggle with your weight, and even if you're like an emotional eater or anything like that, that that's the only way you enjoy food. When actually, like you said, I love food. Yes, there's times I don't use it in the best way, but I mean, give me all of it. Any of it.
All of it. Anything. I'll take it. I'm going to try it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at that point, I was like mortified. I was, so scared. But again, I had to change that mindset because this was an avenue that I'd never explored before. So maybe cutting out the food, just maybe, this might be the answer that I've been looking for. So do you know what? I just said to Jem, all right, I just took what she said as gospel and okay, I'll do it. It felt completely out of all control that I knew. It felt like I'm going against the grain, but I was like, I don't care. If she tells me I'm going to do that, that's what I'm going to do. So I'd done 1B. However, as we were going through for a few weeks, and I did stick to 1B religiously for, I'm going to say, a good probably 6 weeks out of that 12. And I shocked myself so much. I could not believe how, it was endearing. I couldn't, I didn't, finally, I was like, I don't actually need food. It was like proof to myself to go, I don't need to be actually shackled to the kitchen and, working out my next meal. And, God forbid you're out and about and you're like, oh my God, it's 12:30 and I've not eaten my lunch yet. Where am I going to pick up my lunch? It was just so freeing. And this this mental peace, calm in my head just took place. And I'd never experienced that before because I didn't realise how much food consumed my thoughts. I thought, naturally, I just assumed that I just ate when I wanted to because I like eating. But I didn't realise I was thinking about food 24/7. But I think it got so normal that I was thinking about it 24/7. I didn't realise I was thinking about it 24/7. So to have that break away was just like, just this sort of woosa moment for,
so
30 odd years. Yeah,
Like
it's unbelievable.
I was saying to my girls before, like when I did my reset back in like September time, the mental weight that lifted from that food noise just going away. And we hear a lot of talk at the minute on social media, probably within our friendship groups, about that food noise. And I think it's brilliant that is becoming more of a topic because for the longest time, like you say, I thought there was something wrong fundamentally with my brain. I was like, how are other people just eating when they need to eat? And yet I'm here literally and I cannot stop. Some days it consumes me mentally. All I'm thinking about is what I've eaten, what I'm going to eat, which way I could eat that's going to make things better. And I think it can be really overwhelming. It can add again to the shame that you feel. So the relief, if you are somebody that struggles with that, when that goes, I can't even put into words like how good that feels. And you can get that in just 6 weeks on plan. Like
100%. Oh, it was actually within like the first week for me because Bobby, he was only young at the time, like just months old. And I'd been up all night with him, like, one of those, it's 2:00 in the morning. I've been trying to get you in bed for 3 hours. We may as well just accept defeat and go downstairs. So I was downstairs at 2:00 in the morning. I remember my mum messaging me knowing that Bobby hadn't been well. And she was like, how's Bobby? What have you been like? I said, yeah, I've been up with him from 2 a.m. And my mum was like, all right. And how's Plan been then with that? Obviously expecting that I'd been living off of the biscuit barrel since 3 a.m. And I said, no, it's fine. I've stuck to it. And I remember my mum saying, if you can get through that on your first week, you can do this. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. I'm going to do this.
Oh, I love that.
And like I say, the rest was just history. But I do remember getting to around that 6 week period and something in me was just craving fresh, just wanted fresh veggies, fresh, just something that wasn't out of a packet. And I do remember saying to Gemma at that point, I was like, I've been loving this so far. I've been, I can't rate it enough, but something in me, I feel like the buckles are going to start to come undone soon. And Gemma was just like, we'll go to step 2 then. And in my head, I was like, well, no, you told me, 12 weeks on 1B. And in my head, I was so hell-bent. I need to get to those 12 weeks. And Gemma said to me, I'll tell you now, if you don't go to step 2, you're going to come off plan altogether. She said, so just go to step 2. It's no different. She brought me back down, gave me a bit of a chill pill because I think I was freaking out, at like the thought of I'm going to fail, I'm going to mess up again. It's that taking you back to all those, failed attempts before. And she was just, she was like my saviour of like just grounding me, going to Stacey, just go to step 2. God's sake, just go to step 2.
You need that, that from someone, don't you?
Say it's okay,
you can do it. It's no different. I try and make it as like not scary as possible, because obviously it is worrying, isn't it, to suddenly go to food. And I remember you were because you are a stickler for the rules, you know, you knew that you could do 12 weeks, so that's what you wanted to do. But most people are black and white, all or nothing.
And they also, it's so interesting, Stacey, when you were talking about what step you did, because I've had people like you that are giants. Why everyone around me is so tall, I have no idea. But they're almost frustrated that they can't be on the lowest, most restrictive step. And I think there is a lot of breaking down in your mind of barriers. Like you say, sometimes and we have that conversation every day as consultants with our clients, that let's change step, let's move it around. And there is this inherent sense that they feel they failed because they're moving to it, even though you can be like, it's the same calories, it's exactly the same, you're preparing the food. Even step 3, people feel like a monumental failure. I'm like, it's 200 extra calories a day. Like, we're not talking about big things here. Like, these are tiny tweaks that we can make to help you kind of move through that. Was there anything, Stacey, that Jem said that helped that crazy little chimp in your head that was losing the plot at the idea of step 2?
Well, no, I think it was just, again, I trusted this lady from day one to take me on this complete brand new journey. I trusted the fact that she told me that I weren't going to eat for 3 months, and I was capable of not eating for 3 months. I didn't believe her, and then I'd done it for 6 weeks, and turned out that it was true. She was right. So she's telling me to do step 2, then I'm going to do step 2. And it was just putting that faith. Stop, like, we all think we always know best. Deep down, our weekly catch-up calls, Jem, it was more or less me just talking at you.
Yeah.
It was never you just like,
I remember, I was like, just calm down,
jump on me. And it was like, I knew no matter what Gemma was going to say to me, straight away, your instinct takes over and goes, yeah, just let her talk, but I'm going to do what I want to do anyway. It's always you have that natural thing. But I really had to dig deep and, again, put my whole faith in this was my one shot of a clean slate at anything. So I'm going to be actually told this time, I am going to let someone tell me how to do it. I'm not going to know better. Obviously, I don't know better because I've never done this plan before. Like, I probably do know better than Susan at the church how to write the sins book or whatever, because I have done that a million times over. I'm just not very good at, I'm good at giving advice, but actually taking it myself.
I remember you were quite difficult to get some messaging into. We'll put it that way.
No, but it is, I think we talk about it sometimes as like that ego, and we have to break that ego down, and we have to humble ourselves a little bit to be like, actually, what my consultant or my coach is telling me isn't about knowledge. I'm not having to educate you. We're trying to tell you how to apply the knowledge so that it works for you. And I think that's the frustration people get into, because I was the same. I was like, I should have a degree in these plans. But it wasn't a fact that I didn't know how to do the plan. It was I didn't know how to make it work for me in my life and like how my relationship with food was. And I think, Stacey, it's so interesting that you said how important it was for you just to kind of give that trust over to someone else and allow yourself to be led through that process instead of constantly fighting against
this is exactly the same when I get new consultation, new clients come to me, and straight away they'll say to me, right, I want to do step 1A. I want to be 10 stone, and I'm like, right, back it up. Number 1, why are you telling me that your goal is to be 10 stone? They're like, well, that's what I was before I got married, before I had children. I was like, for starters, reality check, you're 20 years older now, you've had 2 children, you ain't going to be 10 stone. And secondly, why is your goal to be 10 stone? Why are you not telling me my goal is to wake up in the morning and feel happy about myself? Why are you not telling me that your goal is to, elongate the time that I've got left with my children because I'm really unhealthy at the moment? I actually want to get help. Why are we so hell-bent and fixated on that poxy number on the scales? And, you're only going back to a feeling of when you was 10 stone, you felt happy. You're not 10 stone now is very different to what 10 stone was 20 years ago, pre-children, perimenopausal. Your goal is to feel happy because you felt happy then. You're going to feel happy at 12 stone now, but you're still going to feel happy because you're a lot healthier. Your body composition is completely different. I say straight away, stop telling me what let me tell you when you're going to be getting to your goal. When that's when you tell me each day, going, Stacey, I feel amazing this morning. I put on these pair of jeans that I've not put on for, 20 years. Or I actually went into the supermarket and I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror and I didn't actually hate what I saw. And, all of this stuff that wears us down. And it's just, you've got to go in this with an open mind. Stop, reflecting on 20 years ago your experience on the plan. And I don't put anyone on step 1A. All my clients know this. When they come to me and say I want to do 1A, I tell them they're not.
Because I'm the same. Maybe like one or two clients like that have been very petite. I'm talking like less than 5 foot. I've been like, okay, do 1A, but I'm with you, Stacey. Like, I never recommend it. I just think it's too restrictive. I think it feeds, and it's not that I'm saying I don't think you could do it practically. You could do 3 products a day. Anyone could if they wanted to physically, but I know the harm that could do to your mind, and also the negative stuff that's already in there, how much it's going to reinforce it. And it is going to make it just a really miserable experience, like, for you, but not because you're hungry, none of that, because that isn't going to be the case because of how the plan's designed, but because your brain is just going to take you on a ride, and that's going to be the downfall.
It's part of being uneducated again, isn't it? It's going into it again, believing that you know best. If I've sat here and I've told you, please listen to me from my experience, A isn't necessary, and you're still going, no, but I'm going to do 1A anyway, you're still not giving yourself up to me in the fact that you're opening up and saying, I'm willing to listen to what you've got to say. I'm willing to try it your way, because without sounding awful, that you're obviously back here for a reason, because the way you've done it before clearly didn't work. And I'm not saying you wouldn't drop the weight on 1A. Of course you would. But honestly, for me, that's not the be all and end all.
It's the reasoning they want to do 1A, isn't it, that they've got to change? Because we hear that. We've spoken about it a lot, me and Rach. It's that I have to do 1A because that's what I did last time and that's what worked. It's like, but it hasn't worked because you're still in that mindset of being on the lowest possible, getting the quickest fix that you can. That is the biggest change that they've got to make. So actually doing this time very differently and listening to you is what's the most important. And I feel like you really did that. You really did change. You were willing to be open. I know it was hard, but you did it. And that's the biggest difference for you. And the scales, I feel like that's the biggest change for you. You're not obsessed over what that number says. You never had a goal number in mind. And that's really powerful to talk about, because people still come to me all the time. I need to be this weight by this day. Why?
Yeah, what's it matter? And we talked about that, Jen, haven't we? We talked about like goal setting in weight loss, in that kind of to what you said, Stacey, like whatever you think you're going to feel at that weight, that becomes the goal, and whatever weight you feel like that is where you are. Stacey, did you always have, like, when you did dieting in the past, had your relationship with the scales always been like quite negative? Was it something that you were very mindful coming into plan, that you were like, I need to address that area?
Yeah, so when I was obviously going to get weighed each week at the church, that is the be all and end all, isn't it? Like, that's what you're going there for. You're there whether you're going to get this clap, and if you've lost the most weight, you're going to win the fruit basket. Like, ultimately, you're all competing to get the most weight off that week. But that, for me, doesn't change what's going on up here. I could have had, the biggest loss on the scales, but that could have been for really unhealthy reasons. I could have starved myself for a week for all they knew. I could have stuck my fingers down my throat. I could have been really poorly. Anything could have happened. They didn't ask me the reason as to why I've got the biggest number on the scales. It was just like, you've got the biggest number loss on the scales. Well done. You're the winner. But actually, all the people that are sat round there that have got that number, might not have been a bigger number that have a loss, but they've been in a much healthier headspace, and they've not been crying every morning that they've woken up, and crying every morning that they've gone to bed because they're so fixated on what that number's going to be, or they've starved themselves all day at work today because they're not getting weighed till 7 o'clock. It's just hate the scales for what it does, because it does not show the full picture whatsoever. Like, I would much rather wake up every single day feeling happy, content, in a really good place, nourishing my body with healthy, good food, and the number not dropping, than actually of dropping 5 pounds on that week, but I've cried every single night that I've gone to bed, and I've hated myself, and I've looked in the mirror and picked apart every single thing. Because that, for me, is not how you're ever going to successfully, you'll never maintain that. If you've got to be like that every day to drop that number on the scales, your life's not really worth living, if I'm honest, is it? Because we've all been in that dark place. We know how that feels every day, to feel just so horrific. And I think having children is what changed that for me. When I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but why I wanted to address that relationship with the scales was because I didn't want to pass that on to my kids. And I've said to quite a few people recently, if I can give my children a life where they don't even really know what the scales is, if it's, it's not really something that enters their mind, I'll be so grateful for what I've been able to change my mindset. Because if I was still like I was before, getting on the scales twice a day, they would see that. You know, they're not stupid. They see mummy in the bathroom. They know what's happening. You know, children, they just mirror you, don't they? They're going to do, you know, my kids are then going to think they've got to get on the scales. If they can live their life with not having to their weight into their mind, then that would be my, you know, my best thing that I could pass on to them as a mum. But yeah, I wanted to. I must admit, when I first started Plan, I wasn't in this mindset that I was now. I knew that I needed to change my relationship with the scales, but I hadn't quite got that over the line yet. My mind hadn't caught up with what I was saying.
That takes a long time, doesn't it, to change?
It does. And it's not something that just changes overnight. And not to leave anyone listening on a cliffhanger, but we are going to do a 2-parter of this little episode this week, because me and Jem, we've committed we're going to do slightly shorter episodes. We're going to mean that you can just bite-sized chunk this as we go. And we are going to be joined in the next episode by Stacey, talking more about scales, answering some of your questions about scales, and some of the ways in which Stacey has kind of overcome that, and practical advice for you if you are someone struggling with weighing. So we are going to pause there for a moment. You can take in everything. I, of course, will put all of the details of Stacey's social medias in the show notes, so please go in, follow her. She's absolutely amazing. Like, if you want some real talk, some just honest truth, she's your girl. Go and see her. And as always, there'll be the links for our Diet Dilemmas, the podcast, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. Please go check them out. Please give this episode some love. It really means the world if you could just like, comment, share. Stace, we have a different emoji at the end of every episode. We want people to comment in the comments box. Can you please tell us what emoji you would like listeners to comment today?
That's interesting.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
That's really put me on the spot. No, I was going to say it's spicy, so maybe a little chili. Chili emoji?
Yeah, I
like it. A little chili. Get a little chili in the comments box. And make sure to go and share some love over on the socials as well. But for this episode, thank you so much, Stace, for joining us. It is goodbye from me.
And bye from me.
Goodbye from me.